atheists think religionists are stupid. Religionists think atheists are stupid. Hey folks, welcome to the channel Thinking Theology. I'll be changing the name of the channel at some point just because it's giving some folks the impression that it's about establishing or defending theology, which it's not. This is just anything on theology that might have theological implications or does, and that includes atheism, which is a healthy dose of the refutation of theology and theological implications. So any topic in that regard is on limits. I don't know who Robert Greene is, but this video was suggested to me by YouTube, as its algorithm normally does suggest things to you based on your viewer history, and this one caught my attention. Why people are stupid. It's like, all right, I want to hear what he says. And it's a gentleman named Robert Greene. I had not heard of him, and then when I went and looked at his channel, he's got like 1.76 million subscribers. The dude evidently is very good at what he does. I have no idea what his position is on anything, but we're going to find out, and I'm going to put the link to Robert's channel down below just so you can see what he's got over there too. Why people are stupid. I thought that this was especially applicable here because atheists think religionists are stupid. Religionists think atheists are stupid. I don't think necessarily either is stupid. I think stupidity comes along the lines when we think we cannot be wrong on anything. And maybe that's what Socrates had to say when he said, I'm not wise, but I'm wise only in this one thing, that I am not wise. All right. The nature of human stupidity.
What makes people stupid, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to tell it like it is their certainty that they have all the answers.
Thank you. Thank you.
The stupidest people are always the ones who think they have the right answers.
Yeah, so getting back to my studies of the ancient world, which is main part of me, one thing that always excited me was this concept of the ancient Greeks, that more harm is caused in this world by stupid, incompetent people than by evil people, right? And there's a word in Greek called phronesis, which is a form of wisdom, to use your title here, but it's a form of practical wisdom to be able to get things done, to navigate through life, navigate through people, to be balanced and get things done. Okay, so what makes people stupid? And right now we have a lot of stupid people in this world. There always have been stupid people because there are more people on the planet. Exponentially, there are more stupid people on the planet. What makes people stupid, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to tell it like it is their certainty that they have all the answers. This is what's going on with our government. This is what's wrong, with this or that. This is what people should be like, blah, 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 blah. So you're narrowing your focus to this little tiny little rail, something that you heard from somebody else. It's not even your own stupid idea. You've absorbed it on the internet, whatever, and you're going down on this kind of monorail path. Meanwhile, the world is all around you, and you're just going like zoom like that because you're so certain you have the answer. And when you have leaders, this is to get back to the Greek thing, when you have leaders who are so certain, they enter a country into a war that they haven't been thought out of, because and so the paradigm in ancient culture was the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta, the war that ended up kind of being the end of Athenian democracy and of their golden era, right? And it was the idea, and Thucydides, one of the greatest writers who ever lived, wrote the history of the Peloponnesian War, living at that time. He was saying that the leaders thought, oh, this will be so easy. And think of all the great things when we go and we take Sicily and we conquer that, the whole world will end, the Sparta will be destroyed, right?
That's kind of like with Putin going into Ukraine. He thought that was going to go very quickly. And it didn't. And I'm not espousing this for any other reason, just to say that this kind of continues where you think you're going to go in, or Mike Tyson, when he lost to Buster Douglas, he didn't work. By his own admission, he just thought he was going to plow right through him back in the day, because that's what Mike Tyson did. He was a wrecking machine. It was frightening. And he didn't train that hard for that fight. I mean, things just go wrong if you don't think it through.
It wasn't thought through. They were so certain of the answer that they didn't think of the parameters, right? They didn't think really on a grand strategic level. So people who are certain of things are very stupid. And when they have power, they're very, very dangerous. I'm not saying evil people aren't dangerous, but incompetent, stupid people who are so certain, who haven't thought things through, are just as dangerous as evil people.
I think there's far more stupid people than there are evil people as well.
Probably, yeah.
Well trained to think.
It's very interesting to think about the where the Venn diagram intersects for people who are always cynical and people who always have the right answer or who always know.
Well, they go hand in hand.
Correct.
They totally overlap. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So, one of your fellow countrymen from 200 years ago, exactly 200 years ago, a gentleman named John Keats, a poet, came up with a concept called negative capability. And negative capability, he wanted to answer the question was, why is Shakespeare, another one of your countrymen, why was Shakespeare so brilliant? Well, his characters were so realistic because he made them as real human beings. And what he could do was, they weren't stick figures. Shakespeare could think of a person and entertain two things about them at the same time. They could be both evil, but also have a strain of goodness inside of them. They were complex. Human beings are complex. And negative capability is the essence of being creative. It means you can hold two thoughts in your head at the same time, two thoughts that apparently contradict each other, but you can entertain them and not grasp at one or the other.
Not pass judgment immediately.
Yeah.
I'm going to find this quote right now. I think it might have been Emerson, it might have been Frost, it might have been neither, who said, the mark of a heightened intelligence is the ability to retain two opposed thoughts in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. Oh, it was F. Scott Fitzgerald. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. Absolutely. Instead of being overly dogmatic and picking one street over the other. And that's where this dichotomy that exists between theology and science, I just think it's poorly framed or poorly discussed, because we can't know. We only have belief, and this is epistemological, but we've only got belief, what we believe. We've got belief, that's it.
So you're kind of able to deal with ambiguity, and you're able to say, life isn't that, it isn't that. It's kind of both at the same time.
Yeah.
That is creativity. That is real thinking. You know, I mean, I could go on and on about my ideas about live ideas and dead ideas, but this is real live thinking.
I have been playing with an idea that's basically the same thing, just repurposed with a silly meme from me, which is a cognitive superposition. So like how in physics.
In physics.
Yes. And then when you decide, you collapse the superposition down.
Yeah.
But that I try to think in superpositions as much as possible.
There's a very good book written about like that. It's not perfect. It's a pretty good book called The Possibility Principle. You can look that up. He tries to apply those kind of ideas in physics to day-to-day life and psychology. It is interesting. It's worth looking at.
It sounds like something that Tversky and Kahneman might have touched on, or Nassim Nicholas Taleb, folks like that, or even Malcolm Gladwell, possibly. But I will say, though, about stupidity, Mark Twain had a great quote, and I can identify with this, where he said, all you need is ignorance and confidence, and success is guaranteed. And that's very Mark Twain-ish, because he said it. But I know when I went into business earlier, and my business partner at the time, we succeeded very well in it, and gosh, I mean, I knew what some of the failings could be and what they could lead to had we failed. But when you look back, you're like, oh my God, thank God one, thank God it succeeded, but two, we didn't realize how bad it would have been. And I guess that is part of what succeeds. When somebody succeeds, or your marriage works, or whatever the risks you've taken in life where you've thought through ahead of time to the way you think, and you've got conflicting thoughts, but you go in one direction and it succeeds. Well, the failure doesn't show up in your resume. So that's what Taleb would call a version of negative evidence. People who look at a plane crash and say flying is so dangerous, but what they're not seeing, because it's not reported, so it's not in their psyche, are the tens of thousands of flights worldwide every day that take off and land successfully. What you hear about is the one that crashes. And then that initiates your fear. It can. It doesn't. I studied the physics to a certain extent of aircraft dynamics, so they're very, very stable. There's a reason they almost never crash. But all of that said, that even helps you get on an airplane if you're able to think it through. But as far as the theological implications of what he said, I love the way he presented it. I do, because it applies exactly to the things I do on this channel, where the scientific realm has repeatable experimentation that we like those. Most are. The Big Bang is not repeatable, not for us anyhow. Singularity, in which the physical dynamics the laws of physics are completely different than those that exist today. And there are other things like the gap in the fossil records and things that need to be accounted for. Ideas, for example, that most adaptations are harmful to its host. So does evolution make sense? It does make sense. Is there a basis other than the text saying, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth? Is there a basis for thinking that all of this was created? There is, and it's a logical basis. I mean, when we look at things that have beginnings, when we look at things that seem to have purpose or design, we're wired to say, how did that thing start, right? You find a skateboard on your property that was never there before, and you're like, how did that get there? Who put it there? You want to go back to, where did that come from? How did that start? Very simple example, but this is how our minds are wired for pattern recognition, and it does go back to the genesis, the beginning, and if you can predict the ending of things, that's how you do it. And it will influence how you live in between. But the notion that my method of acquiring what I believe is absolutely right, for the theologian who looks at the Hebrew Bible or the New Testament or the Quran or what have you, the texts are dispositive for some. They're not dispositive for me. I think they have too many problems. But if you're going to believe that, to me, that's a form. If you say, this is what I believe, this is how I'm approaching it, there may be other ways, but I settled on this, that is fair. That is not stupidity. That is saying, like Russell Brand, he's not a stupid guy. I did a video on him and his faith and why he believes what he believes. And he doesn't say, I'm right, we're right, this is how everybody should think. He says, it works for me, gives him purpose. Fair enough. Now, those who apply themselves to the evidence so-called acquired through scientific inquiry, it seems to be very reliable, because there are certain laws, it seems, that are repeatable. And every time you do a given thing in a laboratory, it shows up, the results are the same thousands of times over. Fair enough. If that's what you're going to place, what you believe, you're going to place your faith in that, fine. It still is a matter of belief. And these are epistemological concerns that Robert Greene touched on here. I'm glad to have come across him. I like his demeanor. Seems to be very learned. This is the first time I've been exposed to him as far as I know. So the notion that I know how things work. Now, some things might give you 99.9% confidence that if you do this, then that's going to happen. Fair enough. And we all do it in our daily lives. We put the key in the ignition, it starts, and we go. That's a matter of belief. But sometimes there's a cognitive dissonance. Sometimes we put the key in and it doesn't start. What's wrong? What happened? Do I have to change my belief that the key starts the car? Or is it some other thing out there in the world? The engine, the ignition, the battery is dead, whatever. Why didn't that happen? Because it's supposed to when I turn the key. there's a disconnect there that I've got to account for. Is my belief wrong, or is reality off? My perception of reality off? But when you say that you know how the universe started, or that you know there's no God, or that you know that there's a God, Greene just covered it. So, all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to check out more of his stuff. I like him. Have a great day. I'll see you on another video. Keep thinking theology. Whatever you're going to think, try to couch it in kind and thoughtful terms. Hey, folks, if you want to take the personality test that I created for my life coaching practice, which is based on the book that I wrote, put your phone up, turn it on camera, and focus on this, and it'll take you to it. And it'll take you about 20 minutes to complete the test. It's free, and you'll get some information on your personality. It's quite detailed, quite revealing. It's kind of fun as well. And I'll be leaving this QR code up on the wall behind me for my regular videos. So I hope you take it, and I hope you enjoy it.